The agents chase down a man when a corpse is taken from a hospital morgue. But are they chasing a thief or the corpse itself?
Join us as we discuss the man, the myth, the legend that is Leonard Betts in an episode that ends with a bang.
This is not happening.
You're the person on record who's responsible for the disposition of Leonard Betts' remains.
He didn't have any family. No friends either, as far as I could tell.
Except you.
I liked him, but I wasn't really his friend. He didn't let people get that close. I'm not sure I could even call myself his partner. Mostly I just stayed out of his way.
What do you mean?
Leonard was an amazing medical technician. He could diagnose illness better than any doctor I've ever seen. You know how they say some people can just look at you and tell you what's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Leonard could do that, especially with cancer. I always told him he should have been an oncologist or something. He used to volunteer weekends at the cancer ward, read to patients, stuff like that.
Did you ever notice anything about him, anything odd?
No. Well, he never got sick. That was pretty amazing, doing what we do. He was the picture of health.
Was he ever injured on the job?
No, never. I mean, until.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what all this has to do with someone stealing Leonard's body. I mean, it almost sounds like you're investigating Leonard.
No. Thanks for bearing with my questions. I appreciate your time.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast. I'm your host, Mike, and with me, as always, is Andrew. Andrew.
Hey, Mike.
How are you?
I'm well, and I bet we're going to have a great episode tonight.
You bets we will.
I bets we are gonna.
Oh, boy. Well, if you hadn't guessed, ladies and gentlemen, we are indeed covering Leonard Betts, Season 4, Episode 12, approximately 44 minutes and 25 seconds of cancer goodness.
Did you see who wrote this episode? All of the writers. Vince Gilligan and John Javon and Frank Spotnitz.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
John Gilnitz trio.
It's too big for any one episode to be written by one person. All of them come on board to write this. And I think it shows. It's a lot of episode.
It is a lot of episode.
Directed by Kim Manners, though. So there's a steady hand at the tiller.
So this is an episode, Andrew. This one kind of pulls the rug out from underneath you at the end here. How did you feel about that?
Oh, are we going straight to final thoughts? Is that what we're doing?
I was just curious as to how this episode.
I really like this episode. I'm just going to come right out and say it. There are so many defied expectations and tropes which they go back on. I'll call them out as we see them. I'm just going to say though that this is one of those episodes where stuff happens that are like, this never happens in an episode. What do we, wow, is it about to end? What's going on here? So there's a lot of really shifting expectations, which are very smart. I just want to say that they are very smart and I enjoyed watching them.
Absolutely. We have Paul McCrane, who plays the titular Leonard Betts. People will recognize him from RoboCop.
Yep.
And he played the real son of a bitch, Dr. Romano on ER. I don't know if you ever saw that.
Oh, yeah. He's a good role in that one, too. This is his show. I mean, really, this is about him. It's about the conceit, too. But, boy, he really acts his heart out on this one. And it's great to see.
Great job. And, again, we get Bill Dow as Chuck Burke.
Yeah, so. A nice return for him, and nice use of him too. I mean, they could have gone to the Lone Gunman, but I'm glad they went to him instead. Probably couldn't get the band back together in time. But yeah, it's good stuff.
All right. Well, what do you say we get started on this cancer riddled episode?
Let's get ahead of the game and and start talking about it. Don't lose your head though.
I won't lose my head.
Don't let it go to your head.
I won't.
Okay.
Oh boy. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. An ambulance tears down a highway as civilian drivers get out of the way at last minute, obviously listening to our show and obviously not paying attention to their surroundings. The female driver, Michelle, sends the sit rep to her hospital, male, cardiac, age 62, ETA 12. After the update, she calls back to the medic with her patient. The camera hangs on his badge, L. Betts, as he responds. He's up to his ass in alligators, he says, and the monitor looks extremely busy. Acting fast, Betts listens to the man's heart, grabs a needle, and presses it into the man's chest and removes the plunge, aspirating his chest, which immediately calms the situation. His vitals return to a more normal state. Betts begins diagnosing him. He has tension pneumothorax pressing on his heart. It just looked like a cardiac. Michelle's blown away. How did you know? She asks. Because he's dying of cancer, which I will submit to the court is not an answer to her question, Andrew.
But it's an answer to us, Mike.
It is an answer to us, and it sets the stage. I get it.
Yes.
He goes on to say the cancer has already eaten through one lung as the camera shows the patient's sweaty, heaving chest.
And we see Leonard Betts lick his lips.
And grab a fork.
That's right.
Michelle asks again how he knew that, and like every terrible driver out there, did not keep her eyes on the road. The light in front of her turns red, and she crosses into the intersection to be T-boned by a car, which rips through the back of the ambulance.
Your Honor, I'd like to object to this point.
Oh, yes, please.
What vehicle is Michelle driving? I just would like to remind the court.
It's an ambulance.
And is the ambulance flashing its emergency lights at the time?
Well, maybe he wasn't paying attention either.
Oh, there's a world of shitty drivers out there for sure. But like, I think that tow truck dude is in the wrong here, smashing into that ambulance. I mean, there's a life at stake, for God's sake.
Oh, well, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the flashing ambulance lights changing the street lights was a thing at this point.
Totally was. Maybe not in Pittsburgh. I think the show's set in Pittsburgh this week, but
yeah, maybe not.
It definitely will become a thing. They've got emitters which activate streetlights to change in favor of ambulances. It's a pretty amazing tech.
Absolutely.
Not in Pittsburgh though. Not at this time. So
not at this time.
Yeah.
When the carnage stops, Michelle stumbles out of the driver's side door, a cut on her forehead, blood streaking down the side of her face. She calls to Leonard while heading to what's left of her truck. As she peers inside, there's no one. She moves on around the area, searching. Up on the sidewalk, she spots a pair of legs behind a newspaper stand, and as she rounds it, we see the paramedic outfit, body lifeless, head ripped completely off, missing. Blood pours out onto the pavement as she gasps and raises her hand to her mouth. She looks to her feet and sees it wedged by the curb. His head. She weeps for her coworker.
Damn, what a hit.
It's Leonard. That's a clean rip.
Yeah, maybe it's the cancer.
It might be. It just kind of pops off.
That's right.
We now go to the hospital. The original victim is covered with a green sheet and slid into the freezer. Michelle is watching from the doorway, and she leaves the room solemnly. Apparently, Andrew, no one else is around to be asking her the questions they need to be asking her.
Oh, not in the morgue. You don't do the interrogation.
I don't think she would be done. I don't think she would be out of interrogation at this point. Or the hospital, one of the two. I don't know. I think she'd be in a bed somewhere answering questions. That's my guess. I don't think...
Just a scratch. It's 97. You just walk it off. Come on.
No, I understand. I understand it's just a scratch on her, but she was in the middle of a car accident that killed 2 people.
Possibly
possibly the other driver.
The other driver. He just walked away. He went to get drunk in a bar after this, so he has a DUI defense.
She would not be alone at this point.
You take that back. She is going to have her scene. She is going to have her emotional scene. You can't take that away from her.
She'll have her emotional scene when she's working when she shouldn't be later on in the episode.
Okay, you're on.
Later that night, the late shift worker is doing homework and listening to his Walkman. Somehow, he hears something and lifts one of his headpieces. A thump continues in the distance, and he rips his headphones off as metallic objects clatter in the other room. He goes to investigate the freezers and notices a green sheet crumpled on the ground. Confused, he goes over to it and lifts it slowly to reveal Leonard Betts' severed head. As he does this, someone in the shadows comes up behind him and whacks him on the back of the head, knocking him out. As the assailant exits the freezer area, we can see bare feet, naked. The camera pans across the closed freezer doors, and we see a male figure, image distorted by the imperfect metal, walking away into the darkness with what appears to be no head.
I love that image.
Credits.
Yeah, that image is so good.
That's a good
they're
use
going to be
of the
so
metal.
cagey in this episode with how they shoot it to not show the headless corpse, which is very smart.
Yeah. Good stuff. So how did this intro grab you? It's a little bit lengthy, but
It's so good. Everything about it works. I know that the whole up to my ass in alligators thing is a total insert so that it can be called back later. Even that I'm okay with. But the immense brutality of the character, decapitating him in the opening credit, it just sets the stage that this is going to be a different kind of show. You know, it's just, where do you go from here? And like, why are we lingering in the morgue? You know that, I mean, the episode's name is Leonard Betts. We're not going to be one and done with him in the first 5 minutes. We're going
Right.
to see more of him. So it's not a conceit that something might happen. You know it will, and the question is how. So that is a great reveal that it is suddenly the body is out there doing shit.
yeah.
The real question that we need to answer, though, what music is playing on the guy's headphones?
Oh. We're making it up, or are we taking an actual guess?
I will confess to having listened, done the rewind and listened a few times. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. It's just a drum beat.
no.
But
I'm going to say
we're
he
97.
looks like
Is it Smash Mouth? Are they out yet?
yeah, I would say it's something along those lines, but he does look like kind of a meathead. Like he really loves football, but he never made it. So he might be listening to jock jams.
Oh yeah, it could be like Third Eye Blind or.
Well, that's not really what I was talking about. I was talking about the sports really lame jock jams, like Tootsie Roll and
Or Bittersweet Symphony. Is that it?
Bittersweet Symphony. Yes, that no.
Oh, I see. There is actually the
You know
Jock
what I
Jam.
mean? The
Jock
old
Jam
Jock
All-Stars
Jam
1997.
CDs. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, totally. That's probably his case.
That's just what his face screams at me. I don't know if it's accurate, but
All right, I'm done. Move on.
all right. The next day, we go to a medical center in Pittsburgh. I'm not going to pronounce that one. The morgue scene is being documented. Crime scene photographs. Monongahela Medical Center,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Crime scene photographs are being taken, and the camera pulls into the closed freezer door that housed Leonard Betts. Scully opens it to see bloody footprints on the inside of the door, implying whoever was in there kicked their way out.
The best part is she doesn't even notice them. She looks directly on the inside, and we see them.
Yeah. The agents quickly discuss the case to bring everyone up to speed. The resident here was Leonard Betts, age 34, and most notably, he had no
He
head.
was decapitated when his ambulance crashed. He was an emergency medical technician for this hospital. A very good one, apparently. A slew of accommodations, write-ups in the local paper.
What about the morgue attendant?
Somebody cold-cocked him and stole his clothes. He didn't see who. No alarms tripped, no sign of a break-in. It's weird, huh?
Mulder, what are we doing here?
Did I mention that Mr. Betts had no head?
Yes. So, I mean, you're not suggesting that a headless body kicked his way out of a lattice morgue freezer, are you? Are you? Because I think it's obvious this is some kind of bizarre attempt at a cover-up.
Meant to conceal what?
My guess would be body snatching for profit. There's a shortage of teaching cadavers at medical schools. An unscrupulous medical supplier might pay top dollar, no questions asked.
Yeah, but why take a headless one and leave so many top-dollar bodies behind?
Sir, those video grabs you asked for? We found something.
An officer comes in with some security badges. They show someone walking around at 4 a.m., but the images are staticky. Suspiciously, the bars of interference are over where the head would be, so all they can see is a body walking around. The officer chalks it up to bad tech, but Mulder isn't so sure. Scully posits whoever it was that was stealing the body was forced to leave it due to being spooked or compromised, but Mulder doesn't know where they could have hidden it. The hospital was combed, but Scully Andrew has an idea.
Mm-hmm. At this point, I have not been loving the staticky stripe over top of the headular region of the corpse there.
The headular region, folks.
Yeah, the technical term. And part of me wishes they just didn't have this scene because I feel like it's so specific. It's like hanging a box of Fruit Loops from a rope and having a guy who's naked walk behind it so that it's obvious.
Right.
You know, it's like a superpower for one super specific moment.
So you think it's too convenient. It's just not effective because it takes you out of it.
Why bother? You know, it doesn't advance the plot. It allows you to have a visual of, oh yeah, there's the body walking along in the stolen clothes. Fine. But it's like in The Field Where I Died, where they have the audio surveillance and then the guy says, and then they started jamming us. And I'm like, no, they didn't. Yeah. You know, no. But I get why we got to cut the scene short now.
Yeah. It is unnecessary in the sense that they don't need to see it necessarily that he doesn't have a head or be onto that. It's purely for the audience. And that's why I think we don't need it because we just saw it.
Yeah.
So you're right in that this is a little overdone. It's overstated.
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit. We go now, Andrew.
Yep.
We go now to the medical waste area.
I love this scene.
It's good, so good.
I love it. Someone asked the question, what do they do with medical waste and how can they incorporate it in this episode? I don't know which of Spotnitz, Gilligan, or Shaban had the question. It was brilliant to include it.
It is. The idea of someone doing this is absolutely disgusting.
And David Duchovny's expression, she's like, I need you. Completely straight-faced, Gillian Anderson Scully is saying, I'm going to need your long arms for this. And he does not read his expression. I love how
he's like, if you're not sure, we shouldn't even really do this. This is unnecessary. Trying to get out of it before.
Let's get a forensics team down here. We're really not qualified to do this. There's no reason why we should be doing this.
Ugh. He is exceedingly squeamish and uninterested in doing this.
Why?
She opens that large metal door to a container and begins rifling around bloody plastic bags and goop with her hands. Yeah, he just wants to be gone, but it isn't long before she asks him to help because of his longer arms. With the very next cut, Mulder is sidled up next to Scully, both dressed in protective gear as they dig around the waste. And this for me is nightmare fuel, just being locked in that room. Yeah, but Mulder finally catches the toy surprise Leonard's head covered in goo, but there's no sign of Betts' body. Mm-hmm. He's convinced there's more to know, and he asks her to examine the head while he goes to Betts' house. He wants to know how he lives. Lives.
Yeah, what a great scene. Great scene.
Absolutely. In the autopsy, Scully weighs the poor Betts' head and records her findings via cassette. He's been dead 19 hours, no signs of rigor mortis or fixed lividity, eyes unclouded. She grabs a scalpel to make an incision, and as she reaches across the head, the eyelids flicker and the mouth begins to move. Startled, she drops the knife and watches as it closes its eyes and mouth again slowly.
Did you note the moment where they did the obvious switch between prop and Paul McCrane's head? It was nicely done. Jam him into the table.
It's not as bad as Alien when they're propping up Ash's head, but
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, it's a little bit more obvious, but they could have started with his head, but there's quite an obvious prop head that they have on the table.
Right.
Anyway, It's a great scene. When her reaction, it's like, you done way too many autopsies, when you see that.
Yep. And you get those plucks of the string from Mark Snow.
The spider fingers. Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yep.
Inside Betts' apartment, it's dark. Mulder is just outside the door, about to be let in by the super, and legs dart across the shot in front of the camera and out of frame again before the door opens. Mulder flicks on a light to a standard single-bedroom apartment. Nothing really out of the ordinary. A newspaper photo is framed, an article that's commending Leonard Betts. He moves on into the darkness of the apartment. Entering the bathroom, he turns on a light to find the bathtub filled with red liquid and what looks like a bloody scene all over.
But it's not. It's not blood.
But it's not. It's not. It's a mess. He notices the window open and some of the red liquid is on the sill, suggesting something left through the window. Mulder dips his fingers in the tub. It's iodine. All of it, all over the place. Scully calls with her findings. Although she's embarrassed and probably a little nervous to even mention it to Mulder, she can't get a good PET scan of Betts. They're using cutting-edge technology, but the image keeps coming out hazy and distorted. The only thing it could be is some form of radiation, but she has no idea where it could be emanating from. I'd love, Andrew, when Mulder asks how the exam went, and she is so hesitant to tell him because it's silly, but she is a little creeped out, too.
And
she's a scientist, Andrew.
Yeah.
It's galvanic response.
Yeah.
That's what it has to be.
But she knows that he's going to make a big deal out of it. So.
He's going to make a big deal about it. So she's like, I can't say this. I can't say this.
I'm hesitant to tell you. The head blinked at me. Did it blink or did it wink? Oh, so good.
He pokes at her to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
He tells her she's afraid to cut into it. But she's not saying it's alive. And he asks if she's considered it isn't quite dead either.
A little blink of his superpower coming through there.
He tells her whoever was in the video grabs from the hospital was at the apartment, clothes are strewn all over, and he made himself at home. Scully begrudgingly guesses he means Leonard Betts without his head. Mulder's going to put out an APB and watch the apartment in case the person decides to come back. As Mulder leaves, the camera hangs on the tub of iodine. Some bubbles rise to the surface. Slowly, Leonard Betts rises, head cresting from underneath the liquid. He looks like a pizza man. Pizza the Hut.
So you know that Leonard Betts is probably hugely claustrophobic and afraid of iodine. And they probably forced him to do that.
They made him do this.
Yeah. I'm sorry it wasn't in your contract. We're just, we didn't want to scare you.
Oh, poor McCrane.
And you know that there was a body in there the whole time. That's a nice reveal at the end. Yeah. I forgot it was there. It's at this point I need to back up a little bit and ask some questions about our villain at this point. And I would like to know how he navigates as a headless person from the morgue back to his apartment. How he gets from the hospital to his apartment. Does he hail a cab? And how?
Yes.
How does he know where to walk? He's got no eyes. Does he grow eyes out of his chest for the time being? It's a big gray void for me where some of these cuts are concerned.
It is a question, and I
it surely is
because I never asked it.
Yeah,
we do know that he can regrow limbs and things like that. So obviously he regrew his head, but it's just a question of how long did it take him? And did he hide somewhere in the hospital to just pop it out before he left? I don't know.
Does he have a little teeny head and that's how he's able to see? I mean, there's a missed opportunity there.
he's
the little Beetlejuice head.
He's like the guy from Men in Black.
Yeah.
Fucking. That's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a missing little bit of logic there for me.
Something to ponder, ladies and gentlemen. How exactly did he get home?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And nobody noticed that he had no head. Is he also invisible like a migrant worker in California?
You know what? Cabbies aren't paid to ask questions.
The color of his money was good for me. So that's all I need to know.
Where you going?
I see you're missing a head there, Pally. You're the quiet type. You know what? 50 will get you there.
You know what? You could at least answer me. Why are you being such a dick?
Well, you're in Pittsburgh.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, good stuff.
So we come back. At the hospital, Michelle is working. Somehow, Andrew. Apparently, there was no investigation.
There was, Your Honor. And
no, there was no investigation.
They said that she was not at fault. The tow truck driver was completely in the wrong for T-boning an emergency vehicle. And they're low on EMTs. They need her to be on the streets doing her thing.
That's true. I like to think that she was questioned. Were you involved in a car accident resulting in the decapitation of your coworker, the death of the patient you were carrying, and the dude who T-boned you? Yeah, I don't know that she would be working right now. That's just my gut feeling on this situation. Could be wrong.
So
anyone who works for a hospital, anyone who's an EMT, please prove me wrong.
That's a great point. It could be that she's one of those people that's just like, you know what? I gotta just work through it. There was a huge tragedy in my life, but I can't deal with it now. I'm better off working so that I'm focused on something, because if it's just me in a room on leave, I'm going to drink myself into a stupor. I mean, that's a trope that you can fall into, as she should, but that's a trope you could fall back on is she said, no, my union said, if you're not going to press any charges, then, and I'm not suspended, then I can work, damn it. So I'm going to work. That's the story I read.
Yes. The EMT drivers who kill their coworkers and their patients union.
Tragic accident, Mike. Tragic accident. And we don't know that the patient died. In fact, I think he was heroically
He's
saved.
the one they shoved into the morgue.
Betts is the one they shoved in the morgue.
No, it's the guy.
Where's Betts' body in all of this?
Rewind the whole thing. Go. I mean, you don't have to, but trust me, the guy they put into the morgue, the camera lingers on at the beginning of that scene, is the guy they were working on.
Okay, and then they pan over to Leonard Betts's slider. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, she made it out alive, and clearly there wasn't a third one that was labeled tow truck drivers. So, I mean,
what she did is she concocted the story. She made sure everyone was dead and made sure she was in the right.
She's who's going to disagree with her?
Who's going to argue? Exactly.
The light was green, Your Honor. The guy was the one who T-boned me.
Yeah.
There's no evidence.
That guy went to prison.
That's it.
For her. Who's going to believe some tow truck driver?
No, he had it coming. Tow truck drivers, man, they got a bad rap. So.
Well, Mulder approaches her and identifies himself. He begins asking her some questions about Leonard. He didn't really have family or friends, but Michelle liked him, even though he didn't let people get too close. More than anything, he was an amazing medical technician, able to diagnose better than doctors. He was proficient in diagnosing someone just by looking at them, especially, Andrew, with cancer.
Oh.
Turns out our boy Betts was quite the humanitarian as well, volunteering on weekends at the cancer ward, helping those little tykes.
Wow. It's almost like that's a plot point.
Yeah. He never got sick or injured. I mean, until he,
until recently.
Losing his head thing. I mean, there's got to be balance, right? I mean, if you go your whole life without getting sick, the one time something goes wrong, it's going to be big.
Mike, he's not an EMT. He's an AMT. He's an amazing medical technician.
Amazing medical technician. At the end of the conversation, Mulder plays his questions off as routine, even though Michelle seems confused. It sounds like you're questioning Bet.
No. We just do that with all of our decapitations, just to fill out the report.
So we go now to the Super Secret Science Academy. A mechanism slowly raises Bet's head from a vat of goo, coating it in a thick resin. The procedure is called biopolymerization, high-tech mummification. Scully and Mulder look on with interest. A quick cut to later, a slice of Betts's cured, decapitated head is held up for examination by the doctor. It displays the various cavities of the head and the brain, parts of the eyes, etc. Rather haunting. As the doctor examines the slice, he is a little perplexed. He's not positive they're seeing everything correctly. He displays it for the agents. Scully's taken back, says it looks like one giant glioma. Ew.
That doesn't sound
indicating Betts was riddled with cancer. He would likely have been long dead before this state. That makes 2 disturbing head examinations for Scully this season, Andrew.
This episode.
So technically 3.
Yeah.
While the good doctor posits it could be malfunction in the equipment, polymerization process, Mulder cryptically says maybe we're just seeing it clearly for the first time. Let's take a slice to go.
Oh, what a good jab.
And before we go to Chuck Burke, Michelle's driving another ambulance while her coworker is in the back tending to another patient.
Do you think anybody would want to ride with Michelle after that?
I don't think so.
I think there'd be a little bit of a
Black
mystique.
Widow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what, Michelle? Maybe take 6 months. Come back when the smell has worn off.
Well, over the radio, they hear other units in the area, one requesting help from anyone available. When she hears a familiar voice on the radio, she throws the ambulance into park and listens while her partner tries to unload the patient himself. The man on the radio who is lending a hand says something curious. It sounds like you're up to your asses in alligators, a phrase she knows very well from one Leonard Betts. This rattles her as she listens to the man diagnose and help the other unit over the radio. This is one hell of a missed opportunity for some Jim Abrams humor, I have to say.
Yeah.
I think the male medic should have been fumbling the gurney out of the ambulance as he continues to call for help. That's really where I was hoping this would go.
We just have him trying to fireman's carry the dude on his shoulders and just in the background. That would have been great.
It's like Hot Shots-esque humor that they could have put in there. But I get that this one's going to be serious.
She's listening in the foreground. And you see her listening to the commentary, and in the background, you see him teetering back and forth. Yeah,
Jim Abrams is all about background humor.
That would have been so
he did
good.
It so well.
It's at this point, I have a little bit of a plot hole accusation here. Why on earth is Leonard Betts still in Pittsburgh doing this thing?
It's the same thing, man.
Yeah.
It's just like Too Shy where they just start making all the mistakes.
Apparently. I just boggles the mind. Like with an ability that he's got, he doesn't need to be in Pittsburgh. He could go friggin' to Indianapolis. It's only
he could even go
away.
one town over.
Go one town over.
Yeah. He could go anywhere, but no. There's another hospital in the same city, which is possible, but it's a little too convenient. He's not afraid. He's not comfortable, I should say, leaving mommy just yet.
Well, you can go an hour away, you know. You can go. Yeah. There's a couple places you can go that are a little bit further away than, the next catchment over. Because you got to think that the EMT community, they know each other. Or that they might have held a funeral for Leonard Betts. Hey, you look so much like Leonard Betts. That's scary.
Well, to be fair, it hasn't been more than a day or two. So I don't think they've had a funeral.
Maybe.
But I appreciate the sentiment. I do appreciate that people would probably know in the area who this guy was.
He should be wearing a mustache.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't know what the camaraderie is between different hospitals and EMTs. Maybe they hate each other and they want nothing to do with each other. I don't know.
It's possible.
Point being, he probably should have looked somewhere else for work to
should have laid low for
a little bit secret.
Yeah, there wouldn't be an episode if he'd just gone over to New York or something.
Right. Yep. Right. So we go now, Andrew, to Chuck Burke's office.
Chuck Burke.
Oh boy, he lays out a slice of Betts' head in amazement. This is a first for him. He hooks it up as Scully rightly asks if this is a legitimate scientific process. What he's doing is called aura photography.
Basically, by applying high-frequency electricity, I am able to photograph an organism's coronal discharge.
Coronal discharge.
Coronal discharge, life force. The Chinese call it qi. It's an accepted fact in most Eastern cultures.
And the theoretical basis of holistic medicine, of acupuncture, but what is its application here?
It may account for the fogging of your PET scan of Leonard Betts' head.
With this equipment, I have been able to capture phantom images of whole leaves that were cut in half, or the vestigial image of a lizard's tail long after it's been cut off, which you have to admit is pretty cool. Looks like we got something here. Oh, yeah. Now, I don't know exactly what you're looking for, but... Oh, yeah. There's definitely some kind of energy happening here.
Chuck, would you believe that this man's head had been decapitated?
Oh, come on. No way.
Way.
Let me ask you, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
If a scientist started talking about qi when regarding a decapitated head, what would you think? Would you go, sounds good? Wrap it up. Send me a bill. How would Andrew react to this situation?
Are we in 1997 or are we in 2024?
No, I mean, we're whenever.
In 97, I'd be like, far out, dude. Why not? Because apparently I was a hippie in 97 and it would have been totally legit. No, I think what they're leveraging is the fact that Charles Burke's wearing a lab coat. So,
He must be smart.
He's on the level. And he's known stuff in previous episodes. So that's why we're going back. That's why we're going back to the bank here.
No, I love it. I'm just giving him a hard time.
Oh, absolutely. And you can give him a hard time because I don't know what we're going to get out of this scene. But all right, let's do it.
So when he slings up the X-ray photograph of the brain scan, the light shows ever so slightly white markings at the base of the neck that indicate shoulders or the presence of shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
So the physical cut-off head still retains some body information, sort of like Chuck described with the leaf and the tail. Scully's silent. Out in the hall, Mulder is giddy. Understandably, Scully is at a loss for what even this proves, but that would be nothing, Andrew.
We saw shoulders growing. We saw shoulders growing back on the image. Come on, that's all we saw.
That's all we saw.
There's a scene missing here.
Okay.
Where they take the head of Leonard Betts that they carefully retrieved from the waste disposal area and they submerge it in iodine. And they see what happens and they see it start to grow. Get a little bit of neck back. That is what you should, because they want a show don't tell moment. That's what they want here with the aura photography. So what we need is this submersion of the head. Well, they're not going to get it now that they've covered it in epoxy, but you want them to show that it can grow back. And you have a moment where, oh my God, there's where the story gets amazing. You leave it in iodine overnight and they come back and it's gone because he's regrown from the head. And now there are two Leonard Betts walking around.
That would be quite the episode.
That would be amazing.
It's funny you mentioned it here, but yes, that is one of the things where it's Leonard Betts and the way they kind of describe it where, Mulder's like, you cut a worm in half, you get two.
Two worms, yeah.
It's not quite like that. What Leonard Betts is to me is a tough boss in a video game where you cut something off and he's going to regrow it.
Yeah.
But only the central location. You have to get to the red dot in the chest to cause any real damage.
Yeah.
Because the head regrowing stuff would be cool, but it doesn't jive with how they're writing the episode, right? So apparently the real energy of regrowth only is on the central body, I guess, of Leonard Betts. Because,
wow. We're talking about chi again, aren't we?
Yeah. It does not transfer to cut off limbs. Otherwise, they'd have a thumb in the parking lot growing an arm later on.
Into Leonard Betts if you put it into iodine. Yeah. Yep. This could have been a really neat episode, but alas, they went boring.
Yeah. They went boring and made it easy.
Yeah. They probably had a conversation about that though. It's like, well, the body can regrow itself if it goes into iodine. What would happen if you put the head into iodine? Would it regrow? It's not going to do that, Jim. We're going to move on.
Well, Mulder's theory emerges here. Betts' tissue was riddled with cancer. What is cancer but normal cells growing wildly out of control? What if cancer wasn't an aggressive force in his body, but rather a normal state of being? And despite the argument about his decap, Mulder insists his chi retain the man's blueprint and can regrow his limbs, body parts, even heads. Well, that checks out, Andrew.
It sure does.
I think we've found the logical, summed up answer here.
Yeah.
He is the Cancer Man.
Oh, very good.
CSM is an imposter. CSM is an imposter. Or should I say Raul Bloodworth?
Raul Bloodworth is the official name. If you need to use slang, it is the cigarette smoking man. He can no longer be referred to as the Cancer Man.
So we get some cute dialogue between the agents here discussing worms and salamanders regrowing things, but ultimately Scully says someone is going through great lengths to dispose of evidence in this case. Well, by the end of the scene, Danny strikes again. Apparently he's been doing some digging and Betts had an alter ego called Albert Tanner. Unlike Leonard, though, Albert has a mommy who is very much alive.
Ooh, very good, Danny.
We go now to Tanner's house. An elderly woman answers the door. The agents inquire about her son, to which she obliges. When she goes to tend to something in the kitchen, Mulder spots a frame with who we know as Betts on her side table. Scully inquires about the photograph. Turns out, Andrew, that is her son Albert, who died in a car accident some years ago.
6 years ago. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see a death certificate. At the Allegheny Catholic Hospital, Michelle is leaving yet another hospital that she does not work at. She spots some EMTs sitting in an ambulance and inquires about the man.
I think you don't know how ambulances work, Mike.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I think that the ambulance service is a city of Pittsburgh thing, and they don't play favorites. They just take them to the nearest hospital, or whoever is like, take them to Allegheny or take them to Monogamous Hospital.
She's not working right now. She's in street clothes.
She's done her shift.
She's not working.
Maybe they got an ambulance station next to the Allegheny Catholic Hospital.
I think she's scouting the other hospital.
Okay. All right. I'll go with that.
Because she doesn't know the people in the ambulance. She's asking if, am I wrong here? The ambulances are hospital specific, right?
Well, they're sort of suggesting that they're a competing service, but yet they're all on the same frequency. So,
yeah, I guess. All right. Well, whatever. She asked the EMTs.
This is the worst part of the episode.
Ambulance,
sorting at the bureaucracy of the ambulance service.
I don't agree with this. Okay.
City of Pittsburgh, get your ambulance service together. 97 Pittsburgh was a terrible place.
Well, she asks about the man in Unit 208, and they point him out as the new guy. He just went off shift, and he's down the parking lot a ways. Michelle pursues. The figure darts off to the side through some ambulances, ignoring her calls. When she turns past the vehicle, she spots a large bush and a dark figure. Unfortunately, Andrew, he can't hide very well, as the moonlight bounces off his head like a spotlight. Knowing he's been caught, Betts shows himself and approaches a stunned Michelle. He talks to her softly, calming her, as she's initially afraid when he approaches her. He embraces her in a hug, and after a moment, brandishes an auto-injector and jabs her in the back. She takes this opportunity to show all she's learned in her community theater class, Convulsions 101. With a blue ribbon performance, she is laid on the ground gently as the life drains from her. Before Betts can get away cleanly, a security officer for the hospital spots him and takes off after him. A short chase scene ensues, ending in Betts' capture. The officer cuffs his wrist to a car door handle and makes a radio call to get help and runs off to check on the woman. Betts begins pulling harder and harder. The camera pushes into his straining face. Real quick, imagine looking at that face, ladies. As he struggles, we hear...
You had to go there, right?
I had to go there. As he struggles, we hear bones cracking, and he jerks slightly. We can tell he's freed himself. The security guard comes back to find simply cuffs hanging from the car door, and on the ground is a bloody, severed thumb. The next morning, it's raining and snowing. Mulder is on scene, bagging up the thumb. I just want to point out, Andrew, because you and I give so much shit about travel times, and even though Mulder and Scully are in the city,
they're literally there.
Hours to get here.
Well,
with the thumb just hanging out.
I hear what you're saying. Although in this case, this feels like reality. Like something happens on the hospital, and word takes a while to get to our protagonists. So eventually, they're like, Scully, I just heard that there was like Michelle has been killed. We got to get over there.
Right.
I look at this as a real failure of Betts, because he decides he's going to kill her right then and there. And I am flabbergasted that he wouldn't just say, let's go somewhere and I'll tell you all about this. Let's go talk.
Exactly.
I know that they played it out like this so that we would have the exciting foot chase that ends with him being captured, which I tip my hat to the episode here. They capture him halfway through the episode, where they have played with this before. where we've got a villain and they capture the villain halfway through and you think, well, we're not done yet. You can't just end it now. What's going to happen next? So they do that here where the flip is, he cuts off his own thumb to escape, which is a nice little twist. But
yeah, he's not going to be sitting around for an interrogation halfway through the episode.
Yeah, exactly. I just wish that we had more of a moment of him, he's uncharacteristically emotional. He goes over to hug her. She backs away saying, how can you be alive? I saw your head. You're dead. And she gets all pissed off and he's just trying to calm her down, saying, let's go and talk about it. And that leads to him lunging at her with the auto injector. And that's how she dies. And that's why it's messy. As opposed to this I choose this moment to kill you.
Right.
You
have seen me, therefore you must die immediately.
There's nothing in his backstory about why he must be so secretive. Like why he's got this terrible secret to keep, other than it's a pretty terrible secret. But, she is complicit in his death. I feel like there's a person there who will probably keep your secret if you play it right. Doesn't go that way.
Well, Scully informs Mulder the assailant was identified with a photo, but that he went by the name Truelove. Although I think McLovin would be a great name for Betts.
Or Boatface. Bodie McBoatface.
Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah.
So per their conversation earlier, Mulder points out he just tore off his thumb because he could grow another.
Mulder, it just doesn't work that way.
But is it unimaginable? Is Betts' ability to regenerate any greater a leap forward than our ancestors' ability to communicate with language or to walk upright?
But language, evolution, it's a process of steps, not leaps.
Recent evolutionary theory would disagree. What scientists call punctualism or punctual equilibrium. It theorizes that evolutionary advances are cataclysmic, not gradual, that evolution occurs not along a straight graphable line, but in huge fits and starts, and that the unimaginable happens in the gaps, the gap between what we are and what Leonard Betts has become.
But what you're describing is someone so radically evolved that you wouldn't even call him human.
On the other hand, how evolved can a man be who drives a Dodge Dart?
So for those who may not know, Mulder went on quite the tangent about punctual equilibrium. Interesting theory in that it is in contrast to Darwin's theory of evolution, where he suggests gradual change.
Yeah, I like Scully saying Darwin's rolling in his grave right now.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Have we covered the trunk full of cancerous surgical waste yet?
Yeah, the scene is really disgusting. They investigate his car and find a biohazard cooler containing sealed medical bags of cancer snacks. I believe he was working on a patent for sarcoma singles or lymphomables.
Yes.
Lymphomables.
Classic. That's good stuff. I'm so glad we were not treated to a scene of him eating
just
said
munching on it.
Tumor.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that would have been...
Even that would be too much. Like, for the X-Files to go there, as disgusting as it is, as the show can be, I think that might be just a little too much.
A bit much, even for Fox. Yeah.
I would argue if they did go there, that would be more disgusting than anything shown in Home.
Agreed.
Maybe not the story, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, but Home, I will argue, Home does it better because there is so much that is left up to your imagination. They give you such shadowy shots. Like and they do a little bit in this one too, with the weird reflection of the headless corpse going by. You could have him munch away at something and not know what it is, but know what it is. You could go there, but they frankly, they don't have a lot of time to waste with something like that, but they could have done it.
Well, not only is Betts made of cancer, he needs it to survive. And Mulder adds on to his theory here. Wouldn't it make sense that the greatest threat to our existence would be incorporated as part of our genetic makeup? A policeman arrives and lets them know the car is registered to Elaine Tanner, Leonard/Albert's mommy. Back at her house with an army of police officers, the agents present their warrant. The police shuffle about the home, looking for any evidence. Scully tries to get mommy to talk. She receives her second mommy talking of the season here.
Yeah.
Mrs. Tanner doesn't believe her son did anything wrong, but if he did, he had his reasons. She attributes his constant existence to God's plan. So what has Scully learned this season? 1, mothers will do anything for their kids. And two, no matter what happens, they're not guilty. So she's getting a real lesson this season on how to be a mom.
Yeah, she's gonna. That's valuable. That's valuable field research for the future.
Absolutely.
I don't know why he did it, but he must have had his reasons. That's not enough for me. That's not enough.
That's not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough.
I need a little bit more.
If you birthed him.
I need a little bit more backstory. She gives an attempt at it with, these guys beat the snot out of him, and he just sat there and took it. And thus, I don't believe he could have killed anybody. Well, guess what? You're wrong. And that story doesn't do anything for me. I need a different story which tells me why he's so secretive, what the big secret is.
Yeah.
We never get it.
We go now to a dive bar. A man in his 50s, long, scraggly gray hair and a beard, drinks at the bar in between violent coughing fits. Around the bar, we see Betts watching him quietly. The camera gives us a glimpse of his thumb slowly regrowing, and all I can think of is the "Let Me Use My Good Hand" from Scary Movie 2.
Oh.
The man finishes his drink and gets up to leave. Betts rises and follows him slowly as the man exits. And as the man goes to get in his car, Betts approaches, startling him. He says, "I'm sorry, but you've got something I need." He slowly brandishes a scalpel in his hand.
I'm just I really do like this episode, except for moments like this where it's just so. He's a smart guy. He is not just. He's no schmo. Like, he has proven himself as a capable EMT, which shows to me he is very smart. So why is he being so dumb with these attacks? It's like. Right. I'm a doctor. I can offer you some free advice. Let me listen to your heart in the car, or, anything. It's just, he's literally brandishing a scalpel in between two cars. He's demonstrated he's no fighter because the security guard clocks him. I mean, sure, the guy maybe he's out of breath because of his lung cancer or whatever, but I feel like this does not equate for the character that you have created for me. He's not a fighter, and yet you now show me that he is. And I just like, okay.
Yeah. The trope of them just making all the mistakes suddenly to have an X-Files episode.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
It's a little rough at times. You can look past it in certain instances, but this guy is good at what he does, supposedly. Mm-hmm. He's 34 years old, and he has been successful so far at keeping any suspicion off of his existence, like his ability.
And now it's all falling apart.
He's choosing to, after dying, stay in the same city as the same job, same technician, same type, and then kill people in obvious locations where he can be spotted. It is a little.
And now in broad daylight, I mean, give me a scene where he injects the guy with a sedative and the guy falls over and Betts puts him in the car and takes him to the storage locker. But no, what we see is him brandishing a scalpel, possibly one of the worst hand-to-hand weapons of all. And now he's going to take this immense man. Like, he is much bigger than Paul McCrane.
He's not going to. I mean, I don't care how sick he is. I don't know if that Leonard Betts could overpower him at this point.
I looked at that and went, really? Okay. You're asking me to believe this guy who is hopped up on JD is going to just roll over for little Leonard Betts, who has demonstrated his ability to fight. They are really
banking on his sickness to weaken him.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I'm willingly suspending my disbelief.
Yeah. Mulder and Scully are making little progress, although Mulder has found a storage invoice and a key on his ring. They decide to head out and check.
Well, something's going to happen here.
Betts is naked, standing in a darkened room all by himself. The camera circles him. He begins sweating profusely. Blood starts trickling from his mouth. He lifts his head to the heavens and lets out a loud, pained bellow as a large object travels up his body to his throat from inside his skin. We face Betts now, and his mouth opens to reveal another Betts head growing out of it. This Betts head shuffles off the lips, and the old Betts lets out his own bellow of pain. This is
quality 1997 CGI right here.
They're doing a lot here.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot here.
I would have done this different. I mean, it's,
probably. It's shadows.
Yeah. It's big. And you got to give him credit for trying to go big. Like, it is a monstrous transformation that they're trying to give to him here. But I would have gone with him like heaving, upchucking a huge loogie, and then it splats on the ground in a spatter of blood, and it's a little body. It's a little sort of fetus or something that's going to grow, and he puts it into a bowl of iodine. But that's the other thing about this episode is everything has to happen fast. They're literally going to drive up to the storage unit in the next half an hour. And so this all has to happen so quickly.
So essentially Betts is molting.
Yeah.
He's shedding his body and becoming anew.
And I like that they didn't tip their hand too early as to why he is doing this. I've literally got a note here saying, what the hell is this transformation? Because I didn't remember where it went after this. So the fact that, he's now going to fake his own death basically with this copy of himself is not set up. And I like it in retrospect, but in the moment I was like, what is this horrible CGI and why am I watching it?
Right.
And I was sitting there going, I really hope nobody else was using their locker as he was screaming his guts out, because they're side by side.
Yeah. Well, the agents arrive to You Keep It storage. They see a trickle of blood coming out of the bottom of the storage unit as they unlock it. As Mulder raises the door, the bar patron folds out a massive hole in his chest, dead. Releasing the door upwards, they draw their guns on Betts, who's in a car. He speeds towards them and turns out of the garage. They fire at him and ping! Explosion.
Mm-hmm.
The car erupts into a huge inferno.
Okay, wait, Your Honor, I need to raise an objection before we move on.
Uh-oh. That doesn't happen, I know.
I know, it never does. This is honestly, Mike, I do like this episode. So I hate that I
don't believe you.
I am finding these little nitpicks as we go. And it didn't occur to me now, but I go back to Young at Heart, where the villain has this slowly growing list of superpowers or special abilities. And now Leonard Betts is also a demolitions expert or something, because there's no way that a chance hit from a bullet is what blew up that car. He loaded that car with explosive or something to make it go boom. It's not a Pinto.
Yeah.
It's a Trans Am.
I don't know what he did.
It's not, in no way is it touched on in this episode, but
no, it's not touched on at all.
Yeah. Clearly it's a fake out.
Yeah. He wanted that to appear as though his body was going to just be burned up. He wanted to get rid of the evidence to make it look like he died again.
Yeah.
So he could not rely on Scully just randomly shooting the gas tank, which, by the way, doesn't work.
No, exactly. Everything about that explosion, they would pick apart and go, there's no way my bullet made that car explode.
Exactly. So it is a weird place they kind of write themselves into, because number one, it's a Hollywood trope. So it's not weird to us at all that this happens.
Mm-hmm.
But number two, it is weird because he was trying to get them off of his back by killing himself, quote unquote. Again.
Yeah.
So he had to know the car was going to explode. So they never address it. So we're kind of left in limbo as to what exactly happened there.
Yeah, they won't have the time to come back and close the loop on that particular plot piece.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I get that he can be skilled in that way, but show me that he's skilled in that way. Just don't be like, You know, I don't know.
At least have a short 2-second scene of him mixing something together.
Yeah. Or, frankly, it shouldn't have been the lung cancer guy's car. It should have been another car that he's had in his storage locker in the event that he's got to fake his own death again. You know, it's some other Dodge Dart that's got a bomb already set up in it.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, we're almost there.
We're almost there. Your Honor, I will try and hold my objections to the end.
No. I'm not. No, you feel free to talk. I understand this scene being a little bit of an issue. Yeah.
More for the bad CGI, to be honest. The resolution at the end, I'm okay with, but it's in retrospect, it's like, well, now he's a bomb expert too? All right, sure. He's a Renaissance man, just like young and hurt guy.
Oh, man. In the autopsy, Scully states it was a skillful removal of the man's left lung. Mulder's convinced that Betts is to blame and needed what this man had. His partner said he was a master at diagnosing cancer, and here comes the icing on his theory cake. He's made of cancer, he needs it to survive, and can sniff it out. So there's another little superpower change. He can sniff it now. He can smell it.
Well, I think he could always do that. I think they alluded to that at the very beginning in our opening. That he could, like, this guy's got cancer. Wow, you're so good.
He's got
cancer.
Like cancer X-ray eyes because he was talking about how it's already eaten through some of his.
Yeah, it must have.
Yeah, it doesn't matter though, Andrew, because he is indeed dead. He's not coming back. On the next table is a burnt to a crisp Leonard Betts, but Mulder's not so sure. Albert died in a car accident too. But Betts existed. He wagers this is not the last they'll see of Betts, and in the next scene, Albert Tanner's casket is brought in. Mulder opens it to a putrid smell, virtually the same situation.
6 years later. You'd think that first one would have putrefied a bit more.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But Mulder's theory is complete. Not only can he regrow a thumb or limb, but an entire body of regeneration. Scully asks why she's even standing here listening to this, and I argue because it's in the script.
Yeah. You're paid contractually to listen to it. Yeah.
At Elaine Tanner's house, she's tending to her son with a tub of iodine. We get disturbing reflections of his face as he lets her sponge him. Yuck. He looks disgusting. She talks to him gently, afraid for his well-being now that the FBI are on his tail. He's weak. He knows what he must do. He slowly turns his disgusting meat face towards her as she says it is her duty to provide. Which leads us to determine she's dying of cancer.
I get what the episode wants to do here. It certainly makes you feel a little bit, but honestly,
Outside, Mulder and Scully are waiting for anything to happen at Elaine's house. Suddenly, they hear a siren of an ambulance, and it pulls up to the house. They rush out, guns drawn to flag down the ambulance, fearing it could be Leonard. They get out, hands up, saying they were called here to the residence. The agents enter to find Mrs. Tanner unconscious with an open surgical cut. Betts did this to her and called EMT. Based on the response time, Andrew, he may still be here. Scully joins as Mrs. Tanner is wheeled into the ambulance, and Mulder stays behind for police to arrive and set up a blockade. At the hospital, the ambulance pulls up. The EMTs get out and unload Mrs. Tanner. Scully's on the phone with Mulder. She took a downturn en route and she may not make it. There's been no sign of Betts at her place either. While Scully gets out of the ambulance, something drips on her head. She goes to scratch it, and when she pulls her hand back, she sees what looks like iodine on her fingers. Acting fast, she whispers to Mulder to get here immediately. She slowly climbs onto the bumper and door handle of the ambulance, and with her gun drawn, she peers on top of the vehicle. We see evidence of iodine handprints on the roof, but no one's there. In a flash, she's yanked off the roof by her ankle and thrown into the ambulance, disarmed by Betts, who throws her gun out the door as he closes them behind him. She's on her back towards the cab of the ambulance, watching in fear. Betts apologizes, and then he continues. But you have something I need.
Oh, shit.
We see confusion on her face slide into realization of all the theories bandied about in this episode. Is he talking about cancer, Andrew?
No, he's talking about something else.
Yeah, before she can process the idea, he's talking about poon.
Yeah.
He's turned into a horrible, horrible person.
Yeah, he's gone fully downhill.
The two enter a life and death struggle as he tries to get at her. Without a weapon, she's forced to improvise and reaches for something, anything. She manages to kick him off her and gets to her feet. He lunges at her with his scalpel again and is kept at bay with a jump kick. She's then brought down again. Scrambling, she reaches for the defibrillator as he comes for her. As he grabs at her, she spins around with the paddles on either side of his face and discharges them, blasting him out of the closed ambulance doors and onto the pavement. The EMTs rush out the door to find him. We cross-fade to later. Mulder's arrived and the police are securing the scene. Scully sits in their sedan, a glazed look on her eyes. Mulder informs her Betts was pronounced, but his mom will pull through. As he goes on to explain she had cancer, was treated and given a clean bill of health a few months ago, Scully closes her eyes, clearly dealing internally with what she has been faced with. Mulder notes his partner's sudden change in mood and tries to cheer her up by commending her performance. She just wants to go home. Mulder gets into the driver's seat and we watch the sedan pull away. Later that night in her apartment, it's 2:08 in the morning. She's sleeping but awakens suddenly, coughing. She can't seem to shake it. She turns on the light, and as she sits up, she sees a droplet of blood on her sheets. With cold realization setting in, we fade to credits and a haunting vocal choir. Andrew, those were her new bamboo 400 thread count sheets.
God,
and those
damn
were
it.
expensive.
God.
Ruined.
By cancer.
Ruined.
Their sheets have been ruined by cancer.
Oh,
Wow. We got to the end real quick there.
oh, it's quite the scene.
It was. First of all, we got to call out the quality ass kicking that Scully can do. I like that they defy the trope of the damsel in distress, that she's going to get tied up and put in a chair and has to wait for Mulder to come along and save her. Not in this episode. No. Because we have demonstrated that Leonard Betts is a terrible, terrible fighter. He's no match for a trained FBI hand-to-hand fighter.
Which calls into question his overtaking the bar patron.
Precisely. I can only assume he's had half a bottle of whiskey and was just basically weaving his way back to the car. So really, Leonard Betts did a community service by stopping him from driving.
That's true.
He would have taken
that man
out.
was.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
He was gonna T-bone another ambulance, and the whole thing just full circle.
I'm not going to say it. But I would like to point out the uncharacteristic communication we have between Scully and Mulder, where she says, "Get over here right now." I was fully expecting her just to hang up on him.
But she's not Mulder.
She's not Mulder. She's a smarty. And then finally, the defibrillation of the head.
That's excellent.
Quality scene, but I think he would have just fallen over because it doesn't work that way. You don't get exploded out of an ambulance when you get a defibrillation shock.
I think you do.
The episode certainly thinks you do.
The episode wants us to think you do.
To be honest, if he was touching her in any way,
Yeah.
she would have been shocked as well. But the drama.
You got to look past that. You got to look past that.
You do have to look past it. Yeah, it's true enough. So no sequel, unfortunately, for Leonard Betts. Although there's a thumb out there. Could grow into Leonard Betts Part 7.
Part 7. He just keeps coming back from this point forward.
He's
one episode a season.
He's the fluke man of the
and they eventually have to kill him in a steel mill.
Yes. Or with a flamethrower.
Terminator 2 style.
They've got to kill him by fire.
Well,
so many missed opportunities. Missed opportunities here.
I think the episode, it's a pleasure to watch. It's fun. It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Oddly, turns into a mythology episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, just at the end. Come on.
Well, it qualifies.
I suppose it does.
It genuinely affects the rest of the show, so I don't know.
Well, that's Frank Spotnit's contribution was the mythology. He didn't do anything else for the episode other than, oh, guys, she's got cancer. Why don't you just do a little weave it in?
We got to move this forward.
You know what the next episode is, right? So we gotta move it forward.
Overall, the bad guy in this episode is established pretty well, and we're given a little bump here and there of everything he can do. At times, it's a little over the top. His explosive expertise could have been elaborated on. I think overall, Leonard Betts is a good bad guy, and
he's a good bad. I do like I keep on saying through this episode, I do like it. And there are a few obvious things for me to get upset about, but really, Paul McCrane. I mean, you got to hand it to him. He does do the character very well, and you love to hate him. Yeah. But the things that are missing are, why is he so protective of his secret? Why couldn't he have let Michelle in? Give me some more backstory on why he needs her to die. They really are using her as, the next death to move the plot forward in a way which I just don't buy. She doesn't have cancer. Could have figured out another way that she gets to live, but I don't know. The plot just demanded that she had to die. Other than that, it's a good roller coaster. Explores the idea of regeneration as a superpower and offers a really neat ending twist that led to a wonderful climax. I liked it a lot. It just got a few obvious holes for me, but otherwise, I think it's definitely a great episode. Do not skip.
And what do you think about that turn at the very end? I think that's what you call a blindside. No one was expecting that. And I know you can call it tacked on, you can call it whatever, but I think it's pretty good.
So the virtue for me is I haven't seen this one for a while. So I legitimately forgot a couple of the beats in the story. And I knew once they split up and Scully was on her own in the ambulance, and once we came back to them at the hospital, it's like, this ain't for nothing. We're going to have our showdown here, and they've split them up on purpose. So now it's just a question of how it's going to come out. So when she gets the drop on the head, it's like, yes, he was in the ambulance the whole time. Of course he was. That's really good. I didn't expect him to be on top. I didn't expect him to have scurried out and then be behind her. Well played, I think is how I give that. So I liked the twist. If anything, what it needed was honestly a bit more regeneration story, like one more aspect of the superpower to come into play. I don't know what that would have been, but we've had it on other cases. Give me something else. Have there be 2 Leonard Betts there. That would be kind of cool. She's got to beat them both up.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that. I was referring to the cancer.
Oh, oh, that twist. Oh, that small thing. Yeah,
that small thing.
Did it feel tacked on? No, I appreciated it too, and it was a nice reveal. It certainly rewards the diehard fans that are watching and know the arc of the mythology. So I don't think it felt tacked on, and I thought it was very smart. That they have got they've developed some storylines that can now commingle nicely. And then this post bit where she wakes up at 2:08 and has the nosebleed. It's subtle and good. It doesn't have to be cancer, but of course it is cancer. You know that because the guy has superpowers all about detecting cancers. So it could have just been a jerk too. He'd been like, "You've got cancer."
Just starts making fun of her. You can beat me, but you're still gonna die.
You're still gonna die of cancer.
Good episode. Great episode. Very fun. And one thing I do want to say is I don't like the very end.
Oh, you don't like this reveal?
I like the reveal.
Are we talking about the cancer or are we talking about the action sequence?
I'm talking about him being not on the top of the ambulance. No, I'm talking about the blood on the sheets. Unnecessary. the
drive away.
The muted scene of Mulder and Scully pulling away from the crime scene and driving into the night would have been much better. It would have given us something to just like our minds as fans of the show are going crazy at this point. Oh my God, Scully has cancer. We don't need her to conveniently start bleeding from the nose that night. It's
a little pandering.
In case you missed it. Yeah, come on.
It's a little bit pandering, but maybe that's also because you can't, in 97, you can't rely on people to have seen the back episodes. You in a way need to have this catch up for people that don't know. I think that's why that's there.
And that's fair, but I think they already called attention to it. She's morose the rest of the episode, the last few minutes. And it's like the groundwork has been laid, not by season 3, but by Leonard Betts. So if you've been paying attention at all to the episode, you know that he senses something in her.
Fair.
Which is big enough. I just don't think you need the very tag on the end. But that's just me.
So you stop watching when they drive away in the Crown Vic.
Yeah, it's much better.
Okay. Not fair. I would buy that, actually. I didn't need the post stuff. I think they wanted to put a cherry on top of the cake. I think that's Frank Spotnitz saying we need to really drive home the fact that she's got cancer.
Absolutely.
That's what that was all about.
All right. So what do you say we get to? It is time. We have gone on long enough
comments. Just 2. Okay. Well, Sarah Lee says the soft musical turn as Scully is realizing she's sick at the very end of Leonard Betts is enough to bring tears to my eyes every damn time. So well done. So, Mike, there's somebody who likes that epilogue. So you can stuff your goddamn final thoughts. I'm sorry.
I think the music was right. I even called to it in my notes.
You totally did call to it.
But I think they could do without the, put that nice angelic haunting choir at the drive away instead of at the bleeding nose crap.
It could be a long, and she'd have the nosebleed in the car as opposed to 2A8.
She could do that. Oh, blood all over the windshield. This is a rental.
Scully, this is a rental.
Fuck it.
The deposit
we got
back.
Insurance. Aaron Haycraft says, maybe I'm just an easy mark, but the first time I heard Betts tell Scully, you have something I need, my stomach dropped.
Yeah, he's the
It
true
was
leader.
a moment.
Yeah,
it was a moment.
Totally the case. It's a really neat scene. I agree with you that it's mythology just from that point. And it's a really smart combination of plot points. That's Frank Spotnitz, I guarantee you.
Well, Andrew, if you would like to say goodbye to the good listeners, I believe we are at the end of the episode.
I think we have finally made it. So given, lovely listeners, that our episode has dealt with a few serious topics, such as decapitation and iodine and cancer, I think it's a worthy thing that, keep up with your various screenings through your times of life. When you get to certain ages, you should definitely get yourself checked out and make sure, if you should unfortunately get that diagnosis, to make sure that you don't get anywhere near a person who likes to feed on cancers, because that could be very hazardous to your health. So let this be our public service announcement that the Leonard Betts of the world, they're out there. And if you don't watch out, they might try and take advantage of it with a scalpel, but they tend to be bad hand-to-hand fighters. So keep your paddles on hand, and a good, sharp shock to the head. That's all you need.
Yep. That was quite the exit, Andrew. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at TINHXFilesPod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.